T-minus 1 minute. T-minus 50 seconds. T-minus 40 seconds. T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Own it, own it, own it, Kong. I own it. It did.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.
That is right. Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. And of course, I am not alone. She is your editor-in-chief and host for tonight as well. Santana, how are you feeling tonight?
I'm good. I mean, we're off the heels of SummerSlam. Monday Night Raw was great, honestly. I don't know what else I can really say. I mean, it was a really good show that we had for a very, very long time. I mean, it was the women really dominated the show tonight. I can't say that. So I definitely can say that I was not sleepy at all whatsoever, per usual. But it was a good show. So
it was, and let's jump right on into it. Speaking of the women, Becky Lynch opened up the show tonight. Of course, it was reported by Fightful's very own Sean Ross Sapp that she did suffer a shoulder injury that seemed to take her out of action for a while, but she still had a few things to say. She wanted to leave a message to Bianca Belair, the current WWE Raw Women's Champion. And, you know, it was another heartfelt moment. We see at SummerSlam, they hug it out. At the end, you know, they shake hands and even become partners in a sense. And Becky's talking, you know, she's giving her promo and stuff. And then, of course, Bianca comes out. She talks to Bianca for a while as well. And, of course, I mean, like I said, they hug it out again. She tells her, you know, hold it down, B. I will see you soon. It's really sad to see Becky have to take time off, but we don't know if this injury is just a write-off, if it's real. We really don't know. But what did you think about this segment?
I thought it was a nice way to kind of close out the chapter of Becky and Bianca. We've seen them both spiral back from last year's SummerSlam, and you know, Bianca, I guess, really closing this chapter at SummerSlam. She looked good in her red suit. I can't say I hope she posted it. I would love if she posted, but I don't know if she will. But I mean, it was a nice way to kind of be a send-off for a moment. And I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved it. I would never thought that I would see Becky align herself with Bianca after losing at SummerSlam. But you know, when one horsewoman leaves, another one returns.
That is true. And before Becky could even get out of the arena herself and to make it back home, she was actually attacked. So we were very curious to see when Bayley and Io and Dakota were actually going to show up. And they wasted no time showing up, attacking Becky with a chair, even putting her arm, her injured arm, in the chair. And of course, I mean, Bianca is known to not have a lot of people. She doesn't like to see people being jumped or ganged or any of that nature. So, of course, Bianca sprints in her heels as she always does and makes sure that Becky is okay since they have a newfound friendship. Unfortunately, Bianca does not get to them quick enough, but we'll see what happens later in the show because, as we know, Bayley, Io, and Dakota were running havoc throughout the entire show. Joseph says this was a flawless way of writing off Becky. If she doesn't need surgery, hoping she is back by Survivor Series, I would like to see it as well. Next up, we had two triple threat matches that were announced. Of course, Ciampa versus Dolph Ziggler versus Chad Gable in one match, and then we had Miz versus AJ Styles versus Ali. Winners of each of the match would face each other later that night. Tonight for the United States Championship opportunity. And they did a really cool vignette as well for that. But of course, we had the first match here first. AJ Styles was okay. AJ Styles won the first match. I was a little confused because it was trippy right here. He wins the first match, of course, and then he is the first one to get his ticket for the opportunity. What did you think about this match?
I thought it was really good. It was interesting to see that we have two triple threat matches happening tonight. I thought maybe they just link them all into one match and call it a day. But I think Triple H wanted to spice it up a little bit, and he did. So with AJ winning, I mean, it was only right. I mean, it was just more so like, I guess, building something between him and, of course, the other person that won later on tonight, which I know we'll get into.
That is true. And Sammy, one of our writers, says that the segment between everything that was going on with Bayley, Io, and Dakota reminds him of how the Riot Squad and Absolution came in. That is a great point. Moving right along, though, of course, Becky gets her arm checked out. We see Adam Pearce and one of the medical assistants there doing what they can to make sure that everything is okay with Becky. We really don't know at the moment, but we'll just have to see. And of course, Bayley had a message. She was very serious. I'm going to try to see if I can. She said this isn't about Becky, and this is not about Bianca. This is about us, and you'll see soon. Sammy says that he wouldn't be surprised if 3 more women came on Friday. That would be really good. Joseph says Santana is right. I thought they would have done AJ versus Ciampa right away, considering AJ helped Logan Paul win on Saturday. That first hour had to be spicy since it was commercial free. Joseph also says, is anyone a fan of Janet Jackson? I think Bayley was. She used the lyrics to Miss Jackson's hit Control to describe this group.
She did.
That's a good analogy. I didn't know that. I'm not the biggest Janet fan, but here we are. We also see them walking out as we thought they were walking out. The Usos came in as well and greeted them. Bayley kind of smiled. Io kind of smiled. Dakota did this kind of awkward look like, you know, whatever. I'm here. Just happy to be here. And then, of course, they did what they had to do. But following after that, Seth comes to the ring. You know, he has a lot to say, and he really makes his mark on Roman Reigns. But he is certainly interrupted by the Street Profits. What did you think about this segment?
I thought it was great. I mean, Bianca's husband, Becky's husband at it against each other. I mean, they try to play rock, paper, scissors, but obviously Montez is a little too smart for Dawkins and tricked him and snatched the referee down, and they end up having an amazing match. One I never thought I would actually see, but it was really good. But I mean, Seth ended up picking up the win anyway. So I mean, you know, it was a great match. I will have to say, I would love to see more from Seth and Montez, since he kind of has his eyes set on Roman at the moment. But Roman already has his opponent scheduled for Clash at the Castle with Drew McIntyre. So maybe afterwards if Roman doesn't get dethroned at Clash of the Castle, then maybe we'll see Seth and Roman for Survivor Series, maybe. But Theory is still lingering around somewhere, so.
That is true. Seth Rollins did defeat Montez Ford. Great match. Probably one of the better matches of the night, to be honest. And of course, he picks up a victory. I did think for a minute Montez possibly could gain the victory, but once Seth was starting to dominate and take control of the match, I kind of figured it would be over. We also were supposed to get a pretty nice match between former rivals, if you want to say, two people who have met in the ring multiple times. Alexa Bliss has been gaining singles victories along with Asuka's been gaining. They've been gaining some tag team victories together, and now they face one-on-one in what I thought was going to be a good clean fight. However, of course, to no surprise, this match ended in no contest after they were attacked by Dakota and Io and Bayley yet again. Now, this is the third time that we have seen them at this point of the show, and it really showcases what they're doing as of now with them as a trio. What did you think about the Alexa Bliss and Asuka match, not match?
I think with Alexa and Asuka, I mean, I was prepared for this match. It was going pretty well before Io and Dakota and Bayley interrupted, but they've been running most of the show tonight anyway, and so I guess this was what we were meant to wait and see for with them. And I mean, it's just so happened, and then Bianca comes out and she just says, I don't care who it is, I want to match with one of y'all tonight. She switched out of the heels, she put her J's on, and she's ready to go. And she comes to try to save Alexa and Asuka, but Control is just a little bit too quick for her as they get out of the ring. And it looks as if like Io is the one that is going to, step up to the plate and accept Bianca's challenge for the night.
She did. She definitely stepped up, and we'll get to that match a little later because it did happen, I believe, at the 9 o'clock hour for people who are on Central Time. We also see this triple threat match, a continuation to the triple threat matches for that opportunity to face Bobby Lashley. I really, really enjoyed this match. I did think for a second that it was going to go to Dolph Ziggler. I wasn't sure if they were going to actually give Ciampa an actual opportunity. We've seen him in NXT, obviously hold that title down there, and still a lot of people in the WWE universe are not as fluent with Ciampa, of course, but I mean this forum was crazy. What did you think about this match?
What I will say that I did like that they did bring up NXT, because they've tried to forget that NXT even exists, and so I mean these three guys were really wrestling out there. I mean, from reversals to different spots and everything, they were really doing an amazing job. I thought maybe it was going to go to Ziggler too, but honestly, I think it would have made a lot of sense to have Ciampa win to go against AJ Styles, because they're the ones who do have the actual feud going on here. So, I mean, it was nice to see that he won, because there's obviously, if certain people were in control, he wouldn't have not won. He probably wouldn't have. But I'm glad he did.
Yeah, it seems that with all the changes that are being made, it seems like Ciampa might be one of those people that can see the day of light. Maybe even a Shayna Baszler as well. But Ciampa is definitely someone that I believe who should be in a title picture, no matter if it's the United States Championship or a world title, even a tag team title. I think him and Miz, their gear for tonight and SummerSlam was just really impeccable. The pink, black, and green. We haven't really seen that lately in any promotion, in any wrestling promotion, in any division. Even with the women, you know, we've seen it, of course, with Jade over in AEW, of course, with her being an AKA. But
she was worn pink and green before too, and black with one of her gears too.
Gotcha. Has it been lately, or was it in the past?
It was like in the past, but she's definitely, you know, worn those colors before in various of different colors. But I honestly say that green might just be Ciampa's color, to be honest, because it really looks good. Yeah, she's an AKA.
Mm-hmm. She is. She's
all the way down. 9. We never thought she was, but she is.
Looking at her old pictures, I could tell. If she pledged anything, she definitely would have pledged what she pledged. I saw some basketball pictures of her. But Ciampa did a really good job, and I'm actually excited to see. Wow. I'm actually excited to see what happens with Ciampa as well, to be honest, because I think anything is possible. I think that, and of course, we'll talk about the AJ Styles and Ciampa match here in a minute, but big shout out to Triple H for making this happen, honestly, because in my opinion, I think that this for Ciampa is way overdue. I remember when they were bringing up, like, I think it was like Aleister Black, Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, well, Johnny Gargano, and I want to say it was Ricochet, but I think it was somebody else, but I don't know. I remember they had like a tag match one time, and like some stayed, some left. And I remember reports hit that like Ciampa wasn't too excited on the direction that they really wanted him to go. And we never know. Reports are reports. We never know what's true, what's false, whatever. No matter if it's reported. I've said this before. I think a lot of even when you get it from WWE or even when you get it from the officials, I believe that some of the promotions give people stories just to throw off everyone, because they know they're going to give it, they know they're going to report it, and it's going to pop on someone's news or someone's feed or something. Someone's going to make a story about it. And that's why sometimes, we have to be cautious. For example, Sasha and Naomi, prime example. We still don't know. We heard rumors that they were going to return tonight. We didn't see that. Things start to speculate, but to the point, it does seem like things are on the ups for someone like Ciampa. And I say someone like Ciampa because there's many other superstars who have come from NXT. Like I said, Shayna Baszler, who has honestly been thrown to the wayside. If you remember a couple weeks ago, she was supposed to be in a tag match, tagging with Shotzi. And Aaliyah and Lacey came out. They got the whole segment. Lacey pretty much talked the whole time. Shayna was given nothing. And I don't know if that was just something that, we're still going to show your face and maybe you're not here or whatever it may be, because we don't know. But in a sense, I just feel like there's just not a continuation of some of the NXT superstars. So sometimes we don't really get to see the up and up. But I really do think that this is going to be a good look for Ciampa. As we move on, though, we did hear from Edge. And, there were some things that transpired, obviously, at SummerSlam. Him saying that he came, you guys put me in hell. And now I'm back. What did you think about Edge and kind of a new look, but not really, but kind of a new look? What did you think about his return?
I mean, for weeks, I mean, people have been saying it was Edge anyway. It's just a matter of time for it to happen. His hair he does look better. I mean, it's given very much how he looked back when I think maybe 2011, maybe 12, something like that. When he kind of like first initially retired, and he was doing the Edge and Christian show on the WWE Network. So it's kind of given that. But I mean, at least I can say that he's intending to go after the Judgment Day and basically get rid of them one by one. And it seems like he's going to probably be starting with Finn Balor first as he works his way on to getting rid of the Judgment Day. So, I mean, I'm excited to see what transpires with Edge versus the Judgment Day. Will he have some people on his side? Will there be some people coming back to assist him maybe? Who knows? I mean, this is only the beginning. So whatever happens, I'm here for it.
Absolutely. I'm not the biggest Edge head, past or present, but it is good to see him still be able to. I mean, one of the best promos we've heard in a while from anyone at that point. He's really good. I mean, he's really good at what he does, and I think that him coming back is such a pivotal moment. And to be honest, seeing him do his thing over here in WWE, and then also see Christian be this super amazing heel over in AEW, it's really a good contrast. And it's almost like seeing evil brothers or evil twins in a sense. We also had a comment. I am new to your stream, and this was a very good episode of Raw. Thank you so much for joining Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like and follow, and also come back because we have a lot of amazing shows that we do throughout the week. One of our subscribers here, Jamie, says Edge looks more modern. And I think that is a very good observation because he does. He looks so, he looks very healthy. He looks very intuitive of what's going on in pro wrestling and in sports entertainment. He walks with a different, it's almost like we've literally seen the growth of Edge over these years. And even in the past 3 years, I believe so much has changed with Edge. Who do you think, when Edge and Finn do possibly get their match, when do you think it will happen? And who do you think will actually get the win in that match?
I mean, it could happen at Clash at the Castle. It's possible that maybe there has to be some type of build probably going on. I mean, of course, we kind of see what happened towards the end of the show, but it could happen at the Clash at the Castle, or it could happen at like maybe a Survivor Series or something. They don't really have that many other pay-per-views happening or anything like that anytime soon. The only main focus is the Clash at the Castle, so probably. It's possible. Who honestly knows? I don't know. Whatever happens, I'm here for it. It is what it is.
Yeah, I got the key. Says I assume they will on SmackDown or next week. And then Joseph says I agree with Nikki 100%. Edge showed us how good on the mic he was doing. He was during the pandemic era of Raw. He was just missing that crowd to give him the energy that he needs to feed off of. And I think, Joseph, you bring up a really good point because everyone can't be that Sasha and Bayley during the pandemic era where they didn't even need a crowd. They were so dominating and so captivating in a sense that it didn't matter. Some superstars, especially in WWE, can do whatever they need to do, whether it be a crowd or not. And we really saw people really make or break their careers in the pandemic era. So having the audience can help, and it definitely depends on the superstar. And It is the weirdest thing about the whole pandemic era is that the promos that were being cut, like you literally just heard them clean. Like it was good, but there was no response. And so it really felt like, and they were talking to an empty arena, but it felt like they were talking to a brick wall. There was nothing there. It was nothing but air. There was nothing going on. And so I'm glad we've moved from that pandemic era. But I do think that everyone doesn't have that capability. And someone like Edge definitely is someone who benefits from that crowd. He knows how to move a crowd, and not everyone has that ability. Sammy says bring both. He meant to Raw.
I think he meant Beth or something.
ASAP CP. Hopefully we get Finn versus Edge. Edge. I don't know.
Jericho, Finn, and then Finn Balor comes back as a demon.
Is that a move?
You know when they put the head on the chair and then he smashed him in the head, same thing they did to him. That's what he's saying.
Wow, I didn't even know there was a name for that. Mm-hmm. Jamie says, great point from I got the keys about the crowd. And then Ron says Seth found his true voice during the pandemic era and used that time to prepare for live shows. I agree. I really agree, because Seth was already a great wrestler. I just don't know if his promos were really there. Now, absolutely. Like Seth is the top talent for the men for me, in my opinion, with or without a belt. I think Beth Phoenix is gonna help Edge deal with the Judgment Day. I didn't really think about that.
I mean, it's possible because her and Rhea have a photo together. Rhea is inspired by Beth Phoenix, so it only makes it right if Aaliyah Mysterio can't do it, get Beth to do it. It's only right. That's all I can say.
It is. It definitely is. And then ASAP CP is dying in the comments for me not knowing the name. So that's hilarious. But moving right along, we also, again, we see Dakota Kai, Io, Sky, and Bayley. Now, I was not present for the SummerSlam post show, so you guys really didn't get to hear my thoughts. But we were live actually at the event, and we got to see all of these returns. And for me, I love Dakota. I've always been behind Dakota. I wish I had my hoodie, but I don't know where it is. It's probably in my trunk. But I popped so hard. I literally cried because I didn't know where the hell Dakota would even be, to be honest. I didn't even know if Dakota would even come to Impact or go to. I didn't figure she would go to AEW. That's just kind of. I think she kind of hinted on her Twitch not going to AEW a little bit. So I kind of was just like, okay, well, maybe she'll just go to Impact or, of course, Stardom or anywhere. But I was not expecting to see Dakota Kai on Monday Night Raw this Monday, the Monday after SummerSlam, or to even see her pop up. It's a very pleasant surprise. She has a new look. She's dropped the King Coda. She's picked back Dakota Kai back up. And it just looks absolutely amazing. And this trio that I'm seeing, they look absolutely immaculate together. Bayley running the show. And this was actually the first time that we actually heard from Dakota and Io. Dakota had a message after Bayley and said that we know how to play the game. Shout out to Triple H, right? Because that basically, and my lightning is just, y'all, it's crazy tonight. And that is just a contest to the work that Triple H is doing, right? That seeing Dakota Kai makes me feel so, I don't even know what the word would be, but I'm hopeful, I guess. I'm hopeful to see what could happen because let's be honest. And I see one of the comments here. I would love to see Control versus Toxic Attraction in a match. They could easily pop up in NXT. Easily. Tomorrow, they could attack Toxic Attraction tomorrow, which would be wild, which would be crazy, and it would give us some cross-branding. Bayley back in the NXT field, along with Dakota Kai and EO. Now, we know EO and Bayley have been former champions. Dakota Kai has been a tag team champion in NXT. It would just make sense. Before we move on, though, I want to read some of these comments that I missed. Ron says, perfect that EO has a great talker like Bayley as her voice. I think that's immaculate because I know EO had a message to Bianca, but it's good that she can have a talker at least sometimes, right? Ron also said he loved that. Wink, wink. And poor Becky Lynch. Joseph says, last I heard, okay? Last I heard, Dakota was in talks with AEW, but nothing came of it. Here, WWE or Impact is where I thought Dakota would be. This faction is cool. It gives the women's division on Raw something new. Euphoric, I think is that word. I don't know what the hell that means. What if they cost Mandy the title and they bring up Toxic? That would be crazy. And Joseph agrees. I can see that, Sam. That's right. Mandy has to face Zoe Stark at Heatwave. And ASAP CP says, well, I'm glad she's not in AEW. Woo!
That'll be depressing.
She would have made a lot of AEW sexuals like myself a little happy, even though I don't know if I would have actually like wanted to. Yeah, I don't want her. I didn't want her in AEW. I'm gonna be really frank about that. I think that they are slowly like it's like a seesaw with their women sometimes. They put on a lot and they put on some, but we never know. But with this trio, this is one of the surprises, one of the biggest surprises of the year for me. Absolutely. And our post show for SummerSlam with Santana, TK, Stephanie, and Gerard is all available now on YouTube and Twitch. So make sure you check that out to see what they had to say about all the chaos that happened at SummerSlam. Let's see. I wonder if Triple H is going to revive the Riot Squad and Absolution angle. That would be nice with Toxic Attraction. I could potentially see Lash, Tiffany, and Cora coming up. I could see Roxanne being one to come up too as well. I think she was one person that everyone loved. So we'll see. But moving on, of course, we get to the match with Bianca and Io. Did you think that this match was going to end clean, or did you think that the same thing was going to happen?
I didn't think it was going to end clean. I mean, one thing I can say is that the first time we saw, if anybody was watching NXT, Bianca versus Io was like 2019. That was their first and last match they ever had with each other. And then they started working together for War Games as a part of Shayna Baszler's team. And then to see full circle that they're wrestling against each other, I thoroughly enjoyed this match. I thought it was really good. It reminded me of 2019 when they first wrestled each other. Both have a lot of growth, and I'm thoroughly excited to see Io back. I've been riding Io for a very, very long time, and when she came back at SummerSlam, I was very happy because I know that she was injured and that they was just having reports about her not, being done with WWE and going back to Japan, and to see her pop up, I thought that was great. That was a big moment for me. Didn't like that she popped up on Bianca though, but I mean, it is what it is. But I mean, Bianca has 3 women on her right now, and it seems like, she might have some help. I know people thought maybe it was going to be Sasha and Naomi to help assist her, but maybe they may have something planned for Sasha and Naomi along the way. It's still in conversation, but At least she has Asuka and Alexa on her side to at least even out the odds at this time.
Yeah, I agree. I would have loved to see it be Sasha Naomi, maybe like a revamp of a trio that was once known as Team Bad, and maybe just, swap Tamina for Bianca. But I just personally, of course, Bianca came out for, she helped Becky, she helped Alexa Bliss and Asuka. So of course, during their match, they're going to return the favor. Now, what I found what I found the most interesting is that Io comes out to the ring alone.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes us think that, and it's mind games that they're playing. It makes me think, like they're going to showcase their dominance in a way that's saying we're better by ourselves. We're even better. We're even greater with each other. So it made me think that maybe we would not see them come to the ring. However, of course, we see them sneaking up as Bianca's on the top rope, and kind of distracts, because Bianca was holding on to the match. She really was dominating. She was taking control. Of course, as a champion, you want to look dominant. Of course, you want to look believable. Io took Bianca to a different level tonight, and I think this has been one of the best matches that Bianca has put on Raw thus far in this solo reign she's had with the Raw Women's Championship. But she goes to the top rope, and of course, Io takes advantage. But not too long, like I said, Bliss and Asuka decide to make their way, to the ring as well. And then, of course, at first, before we get to all this chaos, right? At first, the match was going on, but then, and I don't know if anybody noticed it, but Bliss and Asuka ended up switching sides. And then we see them go after, and literally it's a brawl. Like they go after each other. So we have Asuka and Bliss on one side, and then we have Dakota and Bayley on the other side, and then they just clash. And what's so good about this is that we still had, and if you look in the corner, we still had Bianca and Io trying to kill each other. So now we've gotten to a point where this is not about camaraderie. This is not about who's better than who. This is literally about Bianca is tired, Bliss is tired, Asuka's tired. This whole new crew has came in, invaded their division, and now it's time to get down with this brawl. What did you think? What did you think about this? This whole concept that they went with tonight for this?
I mean, this is what I've been wanting. I've been wanting to see the women brawl like the men do. The men always have their brawls in the middle of the ring, backstage, and so on and so forth. Why can't the women have their brawls like they used to? So, I mean, you got 3 women in the ring who all held their own, all former champions in some sort of way. And you got 2 old rivals, Bayley and Alexa, going at it. You have old rivals with and former partners in the War Games, Io and Bianca. And then you got Dakota and Asuka, who I don't think they were ever in a match with each other. If I can recall, I don't remember.
No, I think Dakota was coming. Like,
yeah, I think Asuka was leaving.
And Dakota was leaving. Yeah. So
I would love to see, like, maybe next week we have Asuka versus Dakota, probably. In their match probably happen next week, if they put that into play. But I mean, it's awesome. I think that is great. I love how the women literally carried the show tonight. And that's really all about. It lets Triple H know, like, look, we have women stars here that can literally be seen throughout the show and continue a story from start to finish. And I'm excited for next week and what they have in store for these 6 women, to be honest.
And just a quick update. There was actually a match between them, but it wasn't one-on-one. Tegan Knox and Dakota Kai versus Asuka and Kairi Sane.
Was it for the tag titles or something? Or
no, I think it was just a match that they were having. It does not specify if the titles were actually on the line.
Okay.
It just states that the Kabuki.
I would love to see them in a one-on-one, though. I will say that. So, it could happen next week. It's possible, but yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people are wanting Asuka versus Io. I've seen this over and over again.
They wrestled in Stardom.
Yeah, they've had their bout, but I would love to see it in WWE as well. But this went crazy, and this is what puts women's wrestling at the top of the map, because when you let the women be a consistent force in the entire show, in like literally from top to bottom, we saw the women. We saw Bayley, Io, and Dakota literally run the entire thing. The titles were on the line. This would lead to Regal making the first ever War Games and Dakota's heel turn. So, but yeah, I genuinely, I'm not the biggest Io fan. I never really have been. I love Bayley, of course, because of the 4 and just her ability to really, she's one of the better wrestlers, honestly. And then with Dakota, I just absolutely adore Dakota, and I've always wanted to see her. I was really pissed off at how Raquel, like, she never beat Raquel, which was so which was really genuinely disheartening for me. But I mean, some of the best women in NXT have never held a title, Dakota being one of them, and Bianca Belair as well. They never held that NXT Women's Championship. So it happens. And then, you become a star. The one thing that I will say before we move on is that I could not help but watch Bianca Belair's face when she saw Dakota Kai. It was one of those moments where she was like, oh my God, I'm so happy, but hold on, I'm in character. Like, hold on, I still have a job to do. And that was so rewarding, because I went back and I rewatched SummerSlam with my granny earlier, and it was amazing. And to see that, and to see them, real life friends, and to be so close, and now they're not on the same team, but they're still working together. I know people are very happy to see Dakota finally get her rub off, and finally get a well-deserved push for Io as well too. But overall, I thought it was really good. But of course, we have to get down to the get down. 2 matches left, you guys. The United States Championship will be defended next week. Ciampa defeats AJ Styles. And I was not expecting this. And I should have, because, of course, of who's in charge. But I was not expecting this at all. Ciampa got 2 wins in one night. Like, that is the direction that I want to go in. I want to keep Ciampa at the top. What did you think about the match between, of course, AJ Styles and Ciampa?
I mean, I thought it was great. This feud boiled over from SummerSlam, with Ciampa, of course, finding his way to interfere somehow in the Miz and Logan Paul match. And then AJ Styles comes out of nowhere, and him and Ciampa have their, brawl outside of the ring, and so on and so forth. But, I mean, Ciampa's a Triple H guy. So, I mean, when Ciampa extended and delivered, Ciampa and Triple H are standing at the stage together, because that was Ciampa's last match in NXT. So, honestly, I'm happy that he's getting his push. It's nice to see that the guys in NXT who have came up, or the stars that came up to NXT, from NXT to the main roster, are getting their opportunities that they deserve. And the match with him and Bobby next week is going to go crazy. If he beats Bobby and becomes United States Championship, that would be great. But I also do feel like it could lead to Miz and Ciampa maybe somewhere down the line. It's possible.
Yeah, maybe Miz turns. He's known for turning. Ron says Hunter has his hands in all kinds of cookie jars. Happy that Ciampa, now formerly known as Tommaso Ciampa, is finally getting some well-deserved shine. Well, ASAP CP says Ciampa is a heel and he has Miz in his corner, so it kind of gives it some worry factor for Bobby. So it makes sense, and I agree. I think anything at this point could happen.
Could Logan Paul come out and help Bobby, be in Bobby's corner while the Miz is in Ciampa's corner?
That actually is plausible. That could actually happen.
Although he beat him, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, Miz is gonna find. Yeah, I mean, Miz is gonna find his way to interfere some type of way, like he helped Ciampa get his foot on the rope and stuff. So I mean, Bobby is the one who defeated the Miz for that WWE Championship anyway. So I mean, it's possible. Who knows? Maybe he'll show up in the Miz hometown next week.
That is true. Ciampa should have gotten pushed when he came into the main roster, but the moment Vince McMahon brought him to the main roster, he killed his gimmick and pushed. But thank God Vince is gone and Triple H is restoring his push and gimmick. And ASAP Twitter would hate that. I don't know if they. I don't know. Twitter would go crazy.
Twitter has good things too. Yeah,
they really do. But last but not least, of course, we are at our main event. And I know we did things a little differently tonight. Normally we save the women for last, but going forward, we're just going to go through the show from top to bottom. So you'll get everything literally in order. So for some of our viewers that chime in with us and stuff, normally we do save the women for last, but we're going in a new direction and we're going to have just everything go as the show goes itself. Our main event tonight, of course, the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships were on the line. The Usos defending against the Mysterios. And I know there was a lot of speculations behind this match. There were a lot of things that were being said. I know for me, even I wanted to see a turn tonight, but of course, it just didn't happen. Something happened, though. All right. As they retained at SummerSlam, they also retained tonight. What did you think about this match between the Mysterios and the Usos?
It was really good. I mean, it was very fast paced. It was nice to see the Usos and the Mysterios face each other off again, like a year or two later. After I think they actually beat the Mysterios for the Raw Tag Team titles. So I mean, the crowd was hyped. They were definitely behind the Mysterios. At one point, I mean, it looked as if like Dominic was going to pick up the win for him and his father, but the Usos are just too smart, just too precise about their thing, the way they do things in the ring. And I mean, it's exciting to see Mysterios actually get a title opportunity. But their luck ran out when, of course, Judgment Day came in and started beating the crap out of them again, including Rhea literally demolishing Dominic, and then Edge comes out to do his part per usual. And stuff like that, which I actually didn't get any photos of that because they didn't post any. But it was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It just messed up at the fact that in the midst of Edge trying to do his spear, he ended up hitting Dominic in the midst of it. So I don't know. Could it cause tension between the Mysterios and Edge? It could. It could not. But I mean, it's just kind of like, well, what's next for the Usos? Like, who are the Usos' next opponents going to be? Because if right now it's really not any opponents for them at this time. So who knows?
Yeah, that's true. There's no telling. I would like to see the Viking Raiders get in there somehow. We also had a comment from Joseph. I wanted to see the new champions tonight. It would have been sweet, poetic justice. The Usos 381 days reign started in Texas. Imagine if it would have ended in Texas. I think a lot of people thought it was going to end at SummerSlam, but it didn't. And it's just unfortunate. I mean, the Usos are kind of the Roman Reigns of the tag team division right now. The day the Usos will lose their titles will be the day Roman loses the titles as well, which could be until Clash of Castles. Clash of the Castles, by the way. I'm not sure. I don't know if Roman will ever lose his title. I think he's going to relinquish it, and I still think he's going to beat Drew. I just never see him or a cash-in. I think Drew's going to win and a cash-in happens. I don't really know. Anything is possible at this point, to be honest. But at the end of this match, we did see, of course, Judgment Day come in. And, of course, Rhea goes and immediately attacks Dominic. And it's crazy. ASAP CP says, I think the Uso going to lose it before Roman. And Joseph says, I think they are at a point they may have to call up teams from NXT 2.0 so the Usos could have fresh challengers.
Bring out the Creed brothers. They're really good.
They are really good. They're really, 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 really good. I agree. And then, of course, we didn't even see Theory tonight. We didn't. I didn't even notice that. Might have had some travel issues. Who knows? He might have stayed back in Nashville, honestly, to party and have a good time. But Rhea decides to push Dominic in the way of Finn as Edge's spear is trying to spear fear. Finn, I mean fear. It seems as if that there's something gonna happen with that because Dominic obviously was injured or something was going on at the end. You know, Ray came in and was trying to check on him and everything. So I don't really know, to be honest. But Judgment Day comes and then Edge comes and then, you know, it's here. And you said that you think we're going to get Edge and Finn. So that could be a possibility. And then what happens with Damian and Rhea? Do we see Rhea get her opportunity? You know, with Bianca, maybe.
Well, it seems like they might have Bianca and Rhea like on the back burner as of right now because Bianca seems to have her hands full with 3 other people. So it's not likely that they'll probably start up with her and Rhea again, maybe at a later time, a later pay-per-view, a later show or something like that. But it seems like Rhea is heavily involved with the Mysterios and Judgment Day thing to the point where, like I said, I think Belle Phoenix could come back and do some assisting with that there. So
yeah. And ASAP CP says my theory, craft booking, is that the Usos gonna lose. Roman gonna get mad. They starting get annoyed at oh, bless me. They getting annoyed at Roman. He loses whenever that is. They say now you lose what? You ain't the big dog anymore. The fight initially, Roman wins. I'm the tribal chief with or without gold. And here comes The Rock. Jesus Christ. That was a lot. Good booking, though. Beth versus Rhea is a matchup I can't wait to see. And also, bless you. Thank you so much for that. But yeah, that was the show, you guys. Really, 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 really good show. Monday Night Raw was the best it has been in such an amazing time, to be honest. And I really enjoyed it, honestly. Any last thoughts before we get out of here?
No, not really. Raw was good. Can't wait to see what happens next week. Make sure you check out all the other shows that we do have this week as well. If you would like to, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to our Twitch channel too. And support Women's Wrestling Talk. It's only up from here.
Yep, and you can follow us on Twitter. You can follow us on Twitch. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and everywhere. Really, TikTok as well. We got some TikToks that we posted. We have some, some amazing stuff. So, are you gonna let everyone know where they can follow you?
They can just Google me, Drian Santana.
Perfect. And you guys can follow me at Nikki Bougie. That is Twitter and Instagram. And of course, this is Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Until next time, you guys. Ciao.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.